Hi, so I have Benny's car here today. It came in for a couple of things, but one of the more important thing was to do the aircon system. So I'm not going to speak about what is how the aircon functions and stuff like that. It's mainly I'm going to talk about the aircon system being done to his car, which is Land Cruiser. They call it here the LC2. Some places call it the Bundera. So it's shorty, running the 22R engine. And now the whole thing is going to be mainly just related to aircon and the aircon rebuild. So this is a Malaysian-spec vehicle. It came with it. If you notice the inside, it would be it's in beautiful condition. So it technically wouldn't have had aircon, just blower, that means just wind. So it wouldn't have had any aircon in it. It would have came here and aircon would have been installed locally by probably Toyota Malaysia or whoever. Not sure. So now there was a lot of old. It was a system that was old and a lot of mix and match parts being used. What we did was, so in the front you can see there is what you call a condenser. So and then what we have done is made sure that there are proper brackets all linked to all holding properly to the condenser. And also we are running a Davis-Craig fan. So we enjoy running a Davis-Craig fan. One is cost-wise is pretty decent, and another thing is easy for me to switch between pull or push. It's not hard, so this is quite easy to use. We also have what we call a dryer over here. So a dryer, you can some say, is a filter. And what we have added to now the system is a pressure switch, and I will explain more in detail what each of this thing does. But just to get the gist of things, we are trying to get the system that was previously running from a R12 to a R134A, which is more current. People will say all you have to do is just switch out the gas and you'll be good. You can run it at R134. I would say, because there's some things that can be done doesn't mean it should be done. So if those who know, the R134 operates at a different pressure compared to the R12. It uses a different type of oil. So unless you do some mods to the system, it's really not advisable for you to just switch over gases, or even worse, to mix them. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm no full-blown expert, but we know a thing or two. So that's that. And also for the evaporator, or some would say they would call it a cooling coil. So the cooling coil box was something that we had to fabricate. It's no longer in production. A casing like this for this car, and it never had it to begin with, but a casing like this no longer exists. So we sort of had to fabricate with metal components. And this is what you call an expansion valve that is in it. I will show you what else is required. But this is a very basic system, aircon system. Whereas a lot of some cars, newer cars, they're ECU controlled, so you have a lot more functions like RPM, certain cutoff, and you put your car in certain modes, it does that. Temperature-wise, there's different temperature sensors around the car. So in this case, it's the most simplest basic system that just has aircon. You just have cooling. And as I mentioned, this car didn't come with anything, so there's no heater nor air conditioning. It's something that was fitted here locally in Malaysia. The air compressor that we got for it, it's now a proper R134A compressor, so it's compatible with that. And some compressors, if you guys know, has what you call a sort of a safety bleed off. If pressure gets too much, it can burp pressure out. Hence why sometimes you can run low on gas, you don't really have a leak, but there was gas that escaped, and that's normally where it's from. But not all of them have. So a safety switch is important, and this car didn't have one before. Hence why now we are putting one in. It would cut the compressor in event of low pressure extremely, not extremely low pressure, there's a threshold, so low pressure, or in the event of exceedingly high pressure, it will also cut the compressor. And all that, and all this doesn't run through a computer or anything, it just runs through a relay system, a very basic relay system that we will also change and add to the vehicle. So every hose that we are building back for this car is being replaced. And with that being said, when you replace so many things, or you're changing so many things and you're doing a custom system, you have to calculate what's the oil amount required and the gas weight that is needed to go in. So there is a formula to it. You can do it, and what I would do is, after I've built it, I probably make a sticker like how the factory does it, and probably put a sticker here or somewhere, just so that whoever who works on the vehicle after this doesn't play guessing, you know, because some of them would be like, yeah, feels about right. I mean, but I'd rather not. I'd rather have it with proper data, so wherever Benny goes to get the aircon service or whatnot, it's they have the info with them. And speaking about service, so this car, we'll go inside again. So this vehicle, there's no cabin filter. So if you can see, there's a lot of new foam everywhere, and that's what we have to do. So there's an automotive grade foam that we use to refoam the aircon, and that's the reason why, also another reason why we do back rebuilds for these old vehicles, because a lot of times you see stuff flying off the AC vents. You see like sort of black stuff flying off, and most of the time they are from the flaps that had the foam on it that has disintegrated over time, and yeah, that's what happened. So a rebuild for a car that this age is needed. I mean, I've seen it happen to cars that are as early as 8 years old. So service wise, it's something that I would generally recommend doing more often, in the terms of what we normally do in our services. We have like we have a nozzle that can reach into the cooling evaporator, clean that out, make sure the drainage is not stuck, swap out the gas, switch the gas with our machine, recirculating machine. And when you hear people say they vacuum the system, so what they're basically trying to do is to not just rich vacuum, they're trying to sort of burn off or get rid of any moisture that is in the system, because you don't want to mix you don't want to have water in the system basically, and that's why you vacuum, and you vacuum for really long. You see like 20 minutes vacuum time, and that's the reasoning for it. But when we test the system, it's better to pressurize the system to test, because you can see leaks, or you can notice or monitor leaks a lot easier with pressure in the system in comparison to vacuum. Vacuum isn't so straightforward. So yeah, that's just the info for you guys to know. And even if you see the condenser that we fitted, so this condenser is an R134A condenser. We try to get condensers with very large gaps. The reason being is, at the end of the day, these are four-wheel drive off-roading vehicles. Although Benny may never go off-road with this, I don't know, but we tend to build them in a way where there's not an issue. If he goes, he can easily hose it down, and it would make for just make for easier maintenance down the road. And another thing about maintenance, so this dryer is actually something that should be replaced. There's a timeline to it. It depends on how often you use the car and stuff like that. Modern day ones have it built into the condenser at the side. There's a filter built into the side. So although the AC system is a closed loop system, it still requires some amount of maintenance, and that's what I was trying to get to. But the thing with us is, you all know that I don't do repairs. So generally we try to build a system full, and then we put ourselves in charge we take the responsibility to be the ones servicing it. And once a system is built like this, where it's completely changed, completely redone, we went from a flare fitting, which is much known to the R12, to a O-ring system. that is also easier to maintain because the flare is a metal to metal connection and it tends to crack over time. But the R12 doesn't leak as easy, or it's harder to, or it doesn't leak out through small pinholes in comparison to R134. So with that also, just keep in mind, it's not straight up compatible. As much as people want to say that you can just take it off and shaft in 134, it's not. So that is that. For this system, for this particular car, for Benny's car, we are sort of future-proofing it, where he can still get a brand new condenser easily, a cooling coil easily, and if he ever were to change, say, swap engine, hence why we're not doing back the engine until now. If let's say he were to swap engine, the only thing that he would have to change would be the compressor. It would have to follow the engine that whatever that we are putting in. So although I would really like to see a 4.0 V6 in this, but we'll see how it goes. So that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.